In 2014, something strange happened in the USA, specifically on the 1st of December. On that day, the USA police received a lot of urgent reports, and the source was a mall. All these reports were talking about the same thing, that they all saw a woman in the mall inside the bathroom. She was injured, bruised, and bleeding. The police immediately went to the site after these reports. But when they arrived at the site, they found the victim fighting for her life. The scene they saw was very scary. The blood was all over her. A few moments passed, all of which were stressful and scary. Despite all the attempts to save her, the victim died, leaving behind a mystery about the strangest murder crime in the history of the USA, which was classified as a threat to the security and stability of the country. The crime was named the Mall Ghost because the criminal disappeared after crime, like the ghost. Despite the fact that the cameras were all over the place. But the thing that I'm sure will shock you more is the reason for the crime. Is the Mall Ghost who committed this crime a human or a djinn? And who is he? And what is his purpose for committing this crime? Follow me to the end of the story to know all the details. And if you are one of the lovers of mystery, horror, and crime stories, then this is what we offer on our channel weekly. So don't forget to subscribe to join our family and see the content continuously. And let's start this strange story on a normal day in one of the markets. People used to go to the mall on that day, like any other day. They shopped normally, and there was nothing. And all of this was under the surveillance cameras that were spread all over the mall. And it was filmed throughout the day. Everything was happening in the place. And like any normal person, some people used to go to the toilets. At that time, a group of people entered the toilets, God bless you, naturally. Until they discovered that that moment was shocking and very scary for them, and they could never get over it, when they saw a foreign woman who fell into her blood and had a puddle of blood around her, and that was clearly covered by the effects of the beatings on her neck and legs. Here people were shocked, and some of them quickly overcame their shock and tried to act to stop the bleeding quickly. So they went to the woman and started to wrap pieces of cloth around the beatings. At that time, everyone who saw this thing called the Emirati police and informed them of this disaster they saw. And at that moment, the police received a lot of reports about this shocking incident. The police quickly moved to the site, and at the same time the ambulances moved. But as soon as they entered the bathroom, they saw that shocking and terrifying sight. The blood was everywhere, and the woman was breathing her last. They quickly turned to her and tried to help her and stop the bleeding with all their efforts. But unfortunately, after a few moments, the poor woman died due to a cut on her neck and leg. Here they removed the body from the scene, and the police began to search the bathrooms and the mall in full. There was an attempt by them to find any evidence to help them with the investigations. But the only thing they found after their extensive search was a knife thrown next to the victim. The strange thing is that it was a normal knife from kitchen knives. A shock, right? Who would commit such a dangerous crime in public and in broad daylight using very basic and primitive tools? It is clear that the murder tools were very strange. The police took her from the scene and took her to the criminal evidence office to see if she had any fingerprints indicating the identity of the perpetrator. After that, the police carried out their procedures normally and began to take statements from everyone who was present at the time of the crime. They knew the story as follows from the words of the people who were present at the time of the crime. They said that when they saw her coming out of the bathroom, she was up and she was basically paralyzed. She tried to move and get out of the place, and she was paralyzed and falling. But she fell directly on the ground, and people quickly came out of the place, and they were terrified and screaming from the terrifying sight they saw. At this moment, the surveillance cameras filmed them, and they were in a state of hysteria and fear. After that, another group came in to see what was happening in the bathroom. At that moment, the others who entered saw the victim lying on the ground paralyzed and falling. We deduced from this that there were people in the bathrooms at the time of the crime, and the criminal was among them. After the police carried out their investigation, the identity of the woman who was killed was revealed to them. She was a Romanian woman with American citizenship. Her name was Abulia Blazes Ryan, the mother of two 12-year-old twins. She was a teacher at a kindergarten in the USA. Her neighbors, her friends, and everyone around her and those who knew her witnessed her good morals and kindness. She cared for everyone around her, and literally no one hated her, to the extent that all the children in the kindergarten loved her. And here comes the question. Why could anyone kill her? Who was the psychological patient who killed her? So the questions began. Was this crime intentional, and did she have enemies or not? Many questions. The police were trying to know her answers. For this reason, they checked the surveillance cameras that were in the market or mall at this moment. At the moment of the incident, and specifically, they went back to the cameras that were in front of the bathroom. But unfortunately, the videos did not help them in any way, because its content was about random people. And everyone was running and screaming for no reason, without being able to distinguish a stranger among them. And no one had any evidence of their suspicions or their movements were strange. And from here, the name Mall Ghost came out. The reason is because they did not find the killer who committed the crime. And for them, it was like a ghost. He commits his crime and disappears. The method of killing is primitive. The tools of killing are strange. The place where the victim was killed is more and more strange. And time is running out, and no one believes that no one saw her being killed. For this reason, this crime gained the attention of the entire USA society at that time. And there was a terrifying mystery behind it. And on the same day, and with the police busy solving this case and solving its mystery, the terror increased when the police received a new call. This call increased the complexity of things more and more. There was a call from an American man of Egyptian origin. He lives near the mall. He says he saw something strange in front of his apartment door. Traces of fear and suspicions, the police quickly went to the place of the report. And the surprise was when they discovered this thing. They found a hand grenade in front of the apartment door. And the fuse was on. It could have exploded at any moment. The police lost their minds. They immediately rushed to evacuate the entire building from all the residents who were in it. And because of the speed of the events that took place, people were in a state of terror. What could have happened if this hand grenade had really exploded without anyone discovering it? Let me tell you the strangest thing. After the police removed the hand grenade and disassembled it, they discovered that it was made of internationally prohibited materials. Its effect is very dangerous and bad in the way you imagine. And the worst thing is that its effect could have been more dangerous if it was placed in a closed place. The same place as the apartment that was on its door. And this is what is more strange about this subject. When they checked the cameras, they noticed a naked woman with her whole face covered. She entered the building with a large bag in her hand. The bag was large and suspicious. After a while, the same woman left the building and the bag remained with her in her hand. They continued to monitor the cameras normally until the woman got in a car and moved. But the strange thing that caught their attention and made them look into the subject is that the number of the car plate on which the woman got in, the plate number was covered with the USA flag. But luckily, she found the street cameras in front of her and brought the plate number in front of her. And within moments, the police contacted them quickly and searched the car through its plate number until they got all the details about it. They told the police that the car was named Mohammed Abdelkader, a married man from a woman named Ayla Bader, who is 30 years old and has 6 children. And they were able to find out his wife's number and even his place of residence. Here, the police looked at all their records and discovered a strange and unusual coincidence. Mohammed's number, Ayla's wife, was one of the numbers they reported about the mall crime, the crime that happened to the American girl at the mall. They immediately returned to see the footage of the surveillance cameras that were filmed by the cameras in the first crime at the mall and discovered that it was really the same naked woman who was at the mall on the day of the incident. The footage of the surveillance cameras showed Ayla's wife asking the security guard about the place of the bathrooms, and then she entered the bathroom at exactly 1:13 p.m. But the surprise is that she didn't leave it until the 45 p.m., which is the same time when people left the bathroom and were screaming. Then she went to the elevator and used it to get out of the mall. And the question that arises now, is it possible that she was using the bathroom for an hour and a half? The police gathered all the information and immediately prepared a detailed plan to attack her house and arrest her without hurting anyone. And indeed, in less than 48 hours, the police raided the house and arrested Ayla Bader Abdallah and his wife Mohammed. They took their 6 children and put them in a safe place until the investigations were over. Then they entered the police house and searched everywhere inside and outside the house until they discovered that this devil and her husband were keeping explosives in their house. They also found outside the house the car that had a USA flag on it and a travel bag inside it, which appeared in the video. And besides all this, when they opened the car and searched it, they found blood on the steering wheel of the car, which seems to be the blood of the poor teacher Altawam. And when they searched their phones, they discovered that they were searching the internet for ways to make bombs or leave weapons hidden, that is, without sound, during the fire. And on the 13th of July, 2015, Ayla Badr Abdallah was sentenced to death, and her husband was sentenced to life imprisonment. And so justice took its course. My goal with these topics is that people take pleasure from these stories, because they are 100% real stories. And they should be careful, and they should not trust any stranger. This is the end of our story. If you liked the episode, don't forget to like it, and subscribe to the channel and join our family so that you can see the content continuously.